Got about an hour today with you. We're going to speak for about 45 minutes or so, 50 minutes, and then save some time at the end for questions and discussion. My name is Zach Nies. I'm Managing Director of the Boulder Program at Techstars.
And I'm Rachel Weston-Rowell, and I work for CA Technologies. They acquired Rally Software, where I worked this summer. And Zach and I worked together at Rally for many, many years, which is how we ended up here together today.
And if you go to my Twitter right there, all the slides are up there, as well as all the worksheets that we're going to be talking about today. You can download it from there. So if you don't want to take notes, you want to have the slides in front of you, that's a great way to go do it. I'll give just a real quick background on Techstars, and then we can give a little background on Rally and CA. So at Techstars, we believe that entrepreneurs should be able to create companies no matter where they live on the planet. And we support those entrepreneurs from the idea stage all the way through IPO with our startup programs. You may know those as Startup Digest, Startup Weekend, Startup Week, Startup Next. We also have an accelerator program, which we actually have 3 of the MDs in this room. So Natty and Jenny are also MDs at Techstars within the accelerator program. Then we also have a venture fund. So that's sort of the perspective that all three of this work.
And for those of you guys standing, there are still 3 seats in here if you do want to sit at some point. Yeah, right in there. And so I joined Rally 8 years ago when we were about 65 people. And the company, how many of you have heard of Rally? Okay, so was founded on the belief that Agile was the way that companies should run their software organizations, which sounds like obvious now, but then it was kind of a big deal. And so it was built around this idea that it wouldn't be enough to just build software to help Agile teams, but we needed to provide coaching and education and community. And so I joined as an Agile coach all those years ago. And then in July of this year, CA Technologies acquired Rally. We had grown to be a 550-person company, and now I work for a 13,000-person company. And one of the reasons that CA acquired Rally is because they want to become an Agile organization themselves. So that is actually my new job. Is I'm on a team of people who are transforming CA Technologies to be an Agile company, which at 13,000 people is not a small task. So we won't be done next week. Keep your ears open, but it's going to take a little while.
So our point with this talk is, if you think back to the original application of Lean into the startup world, codified by Eric's book, what's interesting about that is he took a very thin slice of Lean, as we knew it from the Toyota main production system, as well as Lean in software development and other knowledge work, and applied that thin sliver into environments of high uncertainty. And what we're going to talk about today is a lot of the other aspects of Lean that we brought into working with startups from 2 people all the way to 20, 30, 40, 50,000 person companies, and how to apply these techniques. So this will be, so we're going to have kind of an experience report approach to this from applying these 2 people, again, all the way up into the multiple 100,000s. Give you kind of a high-level overview of what we'll be talking about is we're going to give you kind of these 4 key recipes or 4 ways to think about how to apply more of Lean to accelerate your company. We'll dive into these more here in a little bit, but we're going to be talking about how to get everybody to work together in a cohesive fashion. Then we're going to talk about how you create a shared understanding of your business in a way that invites adaptation. Service key risks and unknowns, systematically take all of the risk out of your business, go from kind of your best guess as to what you should be doing to a business that actually works. And then finally, build a work management system to effectively get more of the right things done. The goal here, the benefit of that is to help you cut through the fog of uncertainty. So Lean Startup provides some great tools to help you cut through that fog. We're going to provide several more that come out of a very vast practice of Lean that you can apply if you're in an environment of tremendous uncertainty, or you can apply in an environment where maybe uncertainty is low, the organization is big, and still want to accelerate. So So as I mentioned, this is really focused around experience reports. We're going to get nitty-gritty, hands-on, exactly what we did, how we did it, what the teams did. So it's going to be kind of a very practical, get your hands dirty sort of experience. Give you a map of where we're going to head before we tell you where we're going to go. So we're going to cover all of this during the talk today. How all of these different lead tools and lead approaches fit together to help you take whatever you're doing today and accelerate it past your competition. All right, first up is the first piece we want to cover is how do you create coherence among your team? How do you go from people that are just sort of doing their own thing to a unified sense of culture, purpose, and direction?
So, maybe some examples of how this feels when maybe this isn't working in the best possible way in some of your organizations. So, maybe think back to a week where you woke up every day and you're like, I just don't even want to get out of bed and go to work today. Why am I even going to this job? Do you want me to?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Or maybe think about, we hired this person and they seem so great, now all the right stuff, and then now they're here inside this business and they're not fitting in and they have all the right skills, but why are they not working well with the team? What went wrong there? Or you're sitting in a meeting and it's like we've got all the right people, we've got all the right information, but our decision making is all over the place, right? We can't get aligned on how to come to consensus around this, which is crazy because we're all here, we all get it, and we have the right stuff. So why are we having such a hard time driving to decision? Or maybe you work in a bigger company or even a smaller company and you're having a company meeting and you're listening to all this messaging about what the company's doing and you're thinking, I don't understand that. Or maybe it's just kind of washing over you. Like that means nothing to me. So those situations, why do you guys think those things happen?
Got kind of a smaller group here. So
we want to talk to you a little bit. Yeah. So what do you guys think? If you've lived in any of those situations, why is that happening? Yeah.
Several people haven't bought in.
Yeah. Did you guys hear that? Do we need to repeat what people say? You could hear?
No.
Oh, so maybe the top level people haven't bought in. Did you ever hear that?
Yeah, so I come from Vienna. We're trying to do the same thing with 50,000 people, and a lot of times it's we don't have shared vision at the right levels of the organization. So we have very top level support, we have very bottom level support, but the actual decision makers in the middle, we don't have that shared vision yet.
Yeah, so top level support, bottom level support, but in the middle it doesn't meet with shared vision. That's not. I saw a hand here and then one in the back.
Yeah, I think so. So there's a little bit along those lines. The strategy is quite clear, and so I've made that experience also at one of the bigger companies in the US. The strategy is quite clear, but it doesn't really go down to the working level, and the execution very much is different from what the strategy says, and that's going to, let's say, this discrepancy is around for a long time. So I think at the beginning it's normal this way, but when you see the execution lags behind very significantly for a long time, that's a big issue.
Yeah, so the idea that you have a strategy, but when it reaches the execution layer, they're not in sync with each other, and maybe the execution is running far, far behind what the strategy is, so things are just completely out of alignment.
The strategy is being communicated very well, so everybody knows about the strategy, but it's wondering when does it come to me? When do I experience that this strategy is being executed?
Yeah, so people are communicating the strategy, but people are feeling like, but it's not my work. When will I actually get to work on the strategy that I keep hearing about? And I saw one more hand back there.
Oh, yeah, I have more startup perspective in the sense of decision making and gaining consensus. So there were so few people in the very beginning, and everyone had to run and go so fast. Decisions were just being made. The consensus was maybe people were given the ability to make the decisions a little faster as we get bigger and trying to grow faster. More people are trying.
I'm going to assume since I could hear that you guys can hear her. Awesome, thank you. So yeah, so you guys hit on a lot of the reasons why we see this not coming together as well. So we're going to give you some examples of things that we've done to try to overcome some of these challenges inside of our businesses.
I'll orient this around the other slides here. But one powerful tool that we use, both larger companies, and we had all of the companies that went through the Boulder program this last time, start by filling out a company operating system. So again, you can download these worksheets from the Twitter link right here. At the top of that, the key thing we're working on here is the why. What are our core beliefs? Where is our alignment around the energy and the purpose for what we're doing? So the first thing here we have the companies do is describe their core purpose. Why are you with this business on this planet to do this work? And then what are your core values? What are the things, the beliefs that you hold true? And this creates a coherence and alignment of beliefs. That's not quite good enough yet. There's also guiding heuristics, which is, okay, it's great that you believe that, but how are you actually going to align your decision making around how you take action on these things? So these, typically with a very small company, these are going to be product related. These are sort of the physics or the underlying mechanism of thinking around the product. And these are the guidelines of how we're going to go from ideas to a finalized decision. And then we think about where do we actually want to end up? Where's the vision? Where are we going with this? And we describe this audacious goal that we want to achieve with the company. What's this thing way out in the distance that we want to go after and make true? And then let's describe it in such a way that we can walk around and really feel what it's going to feel like to be at that destination. So this could be a powerful tool, simple to fill out. You can actually go a little bit far with this in startup land, so I always encourage a couple of beers, maybe a couple glasses of wine in an hour or two. With the founding team first, you gotta get the founding team on board, and then work through with the rest of the group. So here's an example of one of the companies, again from the last Boulder program, who filled out their sheet here. And we also had another company where these can be really super powerful in two instances. So when there's any founder conflict, when the founders are sort of nipping at each other, this is the first place I have them go back to. Because what I find is most of the time, they actually individually don't know any of this. Like, oh, it's just fun to start a company, let's go start a company. And it's in those arguments that you really get to iron out these details. The other piece that's really powerful is as you pivot, so in the definition of a pivot that I like, is one foot is firmly grounded in your core vision and your core values. And you're pivoting the other side. So if you don't know what these are, you're not going to be grounded. You're going to be doing pivots that don't make any sense. So this is really good as you're iterating on the business as well. So now let's talk about it at scale.
Yeah, so this is a picture from one of our corporate steering meetings. We do these quarterly inside of Rally, which is now, it's called the Agile Business Unit inside CA, right? We got kind of put into this big organization. And these are our core values, and they're posted up all over all of our offices. And that's create your own reality, cultivate trust and respect, balance our lives, live agile, and there's actually a fifth one that's not in this picture, which is make and meet commitments. And these values are core to who we are and stay true, as Zach said, even when we are shifting directions in terms of other work we're doing. And one thing that's been really interesting and hard in some ways for us to go through is that because this is such a core part of who we are, and then we got acquired by another company, if you've ever been part of an acquisition, what's happening is we've got two different sets of core values now, and they're not necessarily totally aligned. And so we're having to do some resolution between the two companies and find those common places, but also recognize where things are not common, because this is such a core part of how our business operates. One of the ways that we actually developed these core values in a larger company is we did some bottom-up development around this work. So we were founded by a guy named Ryan Martins, and he had a vision for the company. And after several years, that audacious goal, we had accomplished it. And so it was like, it's time for a new audacious goal. It's time for that next step. And so we did a bottom-up approach where we engaged lots of people across the company. We did these crazy models and these pictures of the future and had this whole team that spent a quarter sort of bringing all these ideas together and finding the right words for the business that ultimately surfaced for us a clearer vision statement for the future along with clearer messaging around our core values. So it was work at scale. But as Zach described, like, get the founders in the room first. So it's like, well, we're beyond founders, but we need to hear from people from all across the organization. Like, who are we and who do we want to be? The other thing that we do to try to maintain this consistency of company operating system is we revisit our core values all the time. So this is in a corporate steering meeting. There are leaders from across the business here and customers. And we were like, you know, it's been a while since we've talked about Live Agile. How about if we remind everybody, because we've hired new people, and although we're an Agile company, not everybody understands the same stuff. It's like, what does it mean to have too much work in process? And we got people up and we had them play a ball game in the middle of this meeting, because that's a core value for us. And we're like, we need to not forget that this is a tenet upon which we're founded and upon which we work, and this will always be true for us. So you gotta find ways to continue to bring these messages back into the business, especially when we reach scale, because they can get really diluted as people go off into different offices, different parts of the world.
So when you're a small company, it's powerful to write them down rather than just having them in your brain. When you're a large company, writing them down actually doesn't mean a whole lot. It's actually these public demonstrations. So that's the same concept here, but through its life scale from very small companies to very large. So our goal here is to create this coherent behaviors, decisions, and sense of purpose, so that you can align all of those decisions, behaviors, motion in the company. So oftentimes when you don't have this, you know, what are the signs that this isn't very effective in your organization is founders are bickering a lot. Employees are making decisions that others look at and go, why in the world did you make that decision? That makes no sense. You get situations where you'll ask a question of, what does your company do? Why is it here? And they talk about a very specific aspect of the solution, rather than being able to zoom out and say, here's why we exist. Here's how we're doing that. Here's what we actually do. So those are some of the signs that you may need this in your organization. All right, next up, second ingredient is maintaining a shared understanding of the essence of your business. What does that mean?
So, just like this picture, it'll become more clear. So, some things, again, we want to ask you guys to envision some sort of scenarios, and then I'll ask you why you think those things are happening. So one of them would be, and Zach started to bring this up, but that moment when you're maybe at a friend's house or a party or something, and somebody's like, so what does your company do? And you're like, all I can talk about is the specifics of the technology. Like, I don't know how to talk about what we do in the world. I can only talk about the technology. Or maybe you think about, you're in a meeting at your office and you're talking about how we can attract customers, and you can't agree on it. Like, no, they'll like this about us. No, they need that. No, they want this. No, they need that. Or maybe it's about that fifth time you've come back to the table again to say, what is our sales strategy? Like, right, we keep like, nope, that wasn't it. Nope, that wasn't it. We can't quite get it right. So what do you guys think is happening in those scenarios? Where are we stuck, or what are we not seeing?
The vision?
The vision? I don't know who said that. Magical voice from me. Thank you. What else?
Your customers.
Who are our customers? Lack of clarity on who our customers are. What else?
Customer problem.
A customer? It's a customer problem? Yeah.
No, I'm saying you don't know the customer problem.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that you can explain.
Yeah. So we don't really understand what the problem is.
Fall in love with your solution instead of the problem.
Yeah, so we fell in love with our solution instead of the problem. God, it's some damn good technology. It's so pretty. What else?
Not changing, so maybe it was true 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And evolved past it.
Yeah, so not changing. What was true 2 years ago may not be true now, but we won't evolve. We're like, oh, that was the thing.
So a couple of tools, and these have been around for a while, that can really help with this, are in startup land, the Lean Canvas is a really powerful, simple way when you're first getting started, or even as you're kind of in the 20 to 100 person range. Great way to describe your business. And for larger organizations, the business model canvas paired up with the value proposition canvas are really powerful. I find that this alone isn't powerful enough for larger organizations, but the value proposition canvas makes it into that is really powerful. So these are tools that can be really effective for doing this. So for a startup, a great way to get started on this is just take a whiteboard. I actually did this with innovation teams within larger organizations as well. So even something this simple is really powerful in Fortune 100 companies. Sit down on the whiteboard, ink out what the clean canvas looks like on a whiteboard. And then place stickies on the side, so this is the problem and the customer segment. I like to do those both at the same time, so you think about that, really forces you to think about those two together. Then think about the value proposition in the middle. I deviate a little bit from Ash as I described this. What I like to see is, when you talk about the value proposition, how would your customers, these people with that problem, describe the value of that problem going away from them? So make it much more about your customers. Then think about your solution. Think about your channel. How are you going to take it to market? How are you going to find customers? And how are you going to deliver your product to those customers? Think about the revenue side as well as the cost side. Then you think about what key metrics are you going to measure? And then finally, your unique advantage. What do you have that no one else does? And for startups, I always jokingly say, just write team, because that's what everybody says when you get started, because you really don't know what your unique advantage is.
A great team.
Team, that's good. The powerful thing about this is that it's not this sacred 100-page document. It invites change. It invites continuous reflection, refinement, modification, based on kind of the best known information that you have. Then once you have this up on a whiteboard, I actually like it on a whiteboard because you can talk about it, you can stand up at it, you can get the whole team involved. And that's a powerful piece of this, which is to build that shared understanding. In environments of extreme uncertainty, one of the hardest things is your teammates, when you say something, may have something completely different in their brains. So an exercise like this really helps you all get on the same page and understand each of the things. So then transcribe this down onto a sheet of paper and then keep that next close to you as a team. This allows you to continually remind yourselves of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and the details about how you're going to go to market, who has what problem, what's the value of making that problem go away. Here's an example again of one of the companies that came into the bullet program, so we had them do this at the very beginning. And then because I like a little bit more rigor behind this, we actually had them write 2 to 3 paragraphs per box. And I actually didn't care what they wrote. The whole exercise was to get the founding team on the same page about where their business was at. It was about clearing up the uncertainty among them, not getting any more detail about where their business was at. It also was powerful when they shared it with mentors and other people that were in their community trying to help them out. So it helps you communicate. The other little secret too is a big part of Techstars is the pitch at the end, so the demo day pitch. Most of the pitch format actually can live on this sheet. So you can walk around that sheet and construct your early pitch of what your business is. So it's really powerful and important to be able to articulate what your business is and how it works.
So at scale, we still need to go through these exercises and iterate on them. What was true a year ago or 2 years ago is it's not going to be true for any size organization. So this is a picture actually at Rally of us bringing together a bunch of leaders from across the business in advance of an executive offsite where they were going to be working on strategy decisions for the coming year. And we brought this group together, and you can see that there's this market map. And we had this group help the executives understand more about the market. Because while the executives have a lot of insight at a very high level to business, these folks are on the ground working with their teams, talking directly with customers and getting information. So we want them to surface more data to our senior leaders. And this was a kind of interesting evolution that happened for us at Rally, is that we went from being a small company where everybody could be in these meetings together, right? We did almost all of these things by consensus. There comes a point when you cannot do that anymore. It is not going to work. And it was hard to let go of that. Like, we kind of had several meetings in a row where it was like, there are too many people in this meeting, but it was like, I just don't want to not happen here. You know, and then we had several more meetings in a row where we kept trying to drive to consensus, and it was like, we can't do this by consensus. 100 people are never going to come to consensus. It's just not going to happen, at least not real consensus. So we learned over time how to get to a more consultative perspective, where it was like, we need to make this group of decision makers smaller, but they want consultation from the people in the business who have lots of information. So we built this huge market map to kind of guide their decision making as they move forward. And this was some of the work we did with that executive team, where this is a strategic A3, which is another lead tool. It's like a one-page document, and we built this huge A3 on the wall, and we were looking out and saying, years into the future, where do we want to be, and brainstorming ideas and then filtering them down. And this is with a group of about 12 people from the senior leadership team. Again, really getting them on the same page. As Zach said, what comes out of this is useful, but maybe you pull it up and look at it every quarter and kind of remind yourself what's there. It's the exercise of those people in the room having it out and really saying no, why are you saying that? Why do you think you would work that? Because if they just write a bullet point that says something about X customer with X product, we can all be like, sure, yeah, why wouldn't we do that? But when somebody has to explain themselves and then somebody else is like, wait, I'm sorry, what did you just say? Why would we do that? That's where the richness and importance of getting rid of that uncertainty really comes out inside of the business. And so here you can see this group of people and really intentionally setting the space up this way, where we're all looking at each other. Because it's like, can we hear each other? Do we know what these messages are? Are we really engaged with each other in getting to clarity around what the business purpose is? Because if this group of people can get to clarity around that, then they can help deploy that clearly to the rest of the business through their teams. But if they're all on different pages, back to somebody brought up that, we have a strategy, but it doesn't feel like it's part of my world, right? That is a primary indicator that that's going to happen if these guys are not all on the same page.
Okay, so that's the power of maintaining the shared understanding of where your business is at. All the way from a two-person company, all the way up into many thousands of people.
So can I ask a question? So you're talking about CEO leaders, how do you use that tool, and how do you transmit the message to the lower level people? Let's say that you have a supermarket and you have lots of employees which are low level skills. They want to be like newcomers. What are you talking about?
Can we table that? Because there's actually an image about 20 slides from now that shows how you do that.
And then tell us if we didn't answer it. Don't let us get away with that if we don't get there.
Next up, next ingredient is surfacing the key risks, unknowns, and take focused action on them. So anytime you're doing anything in an environment of high uncertainty, there's going to be a lot that you don't know. And if you're in other environments, there could be risks, there could be dependencies. There's all this stuff between where you hope your business will go and where it's actually headed. There's a lot of stuff in between there.
I actually can't remember which questions were asked for this one.
So as you
Zach.
I'll try to remember. So if you've been in situations where you had a vision for where you wanted to go, but it seemed like no matter what you did, you weren't really getting any closer to that. Have you been involved in situations where there was a big problem facing the business and you analyzed it up one side and down the other, planned it out, took action on it, and it didn't seem to improve at all? It was just stayed about the same? Or you're trying to figure out how to build more demand in the marketplace. You've tried everything that worked in the past, but now it's no longer working. So these are all situations where either you're taking action not aware of the risks or unknowns or uncertainty or obstacles in the way of your company, or they could be situations where something's changed in the environment and things moved around. So I gave you a little bit of hint of what's going on there, but what are some of the other things that you've experienced, maybe as you've taken products to market, or as you've tried your best to do work and it just didn't work? People have examples of those?
Repeating the same actions and praying for a different outcome.
Yep. One definition of insanity, among many.
When we were in the accelerator program, we actually came up with 2 different campuses, which had two markets, because they're so different. The process was speaking and music.
Yep.
Completely different customer segments, completely different channels, and we were even fine. It was actually the starting point of the segment. Now it's just one big post.
Yep.
That makes it easier.
Yeah, marketplaces are rough because you're running 2 businesses.
Right.
Yeah. work, they're amazing.
Sorry?
When they work, they're amazing. Yeah, there are a lot of businesses around at the same time. All right, so let's dive in a little bit more on one of the ways to think about this. So there's kind of two main problems here we're trying to address. One is surfacing all of these impediments and unknowns and risks between where you want to take your business and where it's currently at. Most people walk around with that kind of rattling in your brain, like most founders lose sleep because they're like, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that, I'm worried about this. And there's another aspect of it is, even after you can articulate it, are you taking action in a way that actually will work? And we'll get into that here in a little bit as we talk about this impact and uncertainty exercise. And then once you've got that figured out, taking focused action on it is the next critical step. So there we'll talk about how to develop strategy. Yes, in startups, it's important to do strategy, but it's a very lightweight form of it, very different than what a larger company would do. But the underlying process, the underlying fundamentals are exactly the same. So let's talk about this impact uncertainty exercise. So gather your team and create this grid on a whiteboard. This one's good to do on a really big whiteboard, biggest one you have. And then you have each individual on the team brainstorm. First, think about what are all the guesses or assumptions you're making in your business. Articulate those, one per sticky note. Then think about all the risks that you know are in front of your business, one per sticky note. Get these up on the board. Then you think about the dependencies or obstacles. What's in between you and success? Get those all up on sticky notes. These are grouped here thematically, so if something of a similar theme is there, you stick a sticky note with it. And then you follow along and kind of group them and create a label for each one that you can use and discuss it with each other. So this is now represents, labeled, everything that you can think of, your whole team can think of, that stands between where you're at today and where you want your business to be. Next up is we now focus on the right-hand side of the board here. We draw out a line here, and then these are what are called reference stories. So you think about here, what experience, shared experience in your collective past do you have where when you took action, it's painfully obvious what to do. So often this is like ordering copier supplies. It's just plainly obvious how to do that. Then you focus way over here and you say, what experience in your collective past did, like the world was falling apart, you had no idea what to do, but you knew you had to take immediate action on it. So you describe the experience that you all shared in the past, things like that. Then this sticky, you focus on what's something where it wasn't obvious to us how to move forward on this, but after consulting some experts, they knew exactly how to take action on this. So this is where expertise, maybe a lawyer, like a privacy policy or something like that on your website. And then this sticky here is where you think of a shared experience in your collective past. At that moment, the data supported multiple hypotheses, meaning literally two or more decisions seemed perfectly correct and reasonable. The data supported it, but those decisions were at odds with each other. And you only knew what the right answer was as you looked back on it. So once you've got these shared experiences, then you take all of these sticky notes, these groupings, and you arrange them based on these kind of baseline experiences. Is this sticky more like this one or more like that one? And it allows you to organize them on that x-axis based on those reference experiences. Then you ask the question, for each of these sticky notes, what's the impact on our business? If we don't do something about this unknown, about this risk, about this thing standing between us. And once you have those, now you understand, okay, these are the level of impact and the level of uncertainty of these decisions. And then you draw a line between them, so you kind of demark this region from that region, from this region over here. And then how you take action on these is radically different. So the stickies here, it's just obvious what to do, just make a quick decision. Stickies over here, stuff's burning down. It's a pretty chaotic environment. It doesn't actually matter the right decision often, just take action and try to take the urgency out of it. Here, this is the region where no matter of analysis will ever get you to the right answer, because the things around you are co-evolving. So you have to run experiments. And And this region here is where you consult experts. And they'll help you understand exactly how to take action on that, because they've dealt with that before. Their expertise will help. So this is really important because often there's a lot of engineers especially that want to analyze everything to death. And so when I'm working with engineers, I really help them see there's a big line here between the stuff you can analyze and the stuff you have to run experiments to gather more evidence about the reality of the true nature of the system. So once you have those items over here, then those form the basis for how to take action and in what order you should take action. And then we think about moving them to strategy. So now we have this sense of how to take action on these big things that are between us and the success of our business. Now how do we focus in? So the strategy worksheet's a powerful way to do that. So the first thing that you do is, it's actually important to think back into the past. Reflect on your learnings from the previous time period before you plan out going forward. So put a couple stickies at the top there, a month before, today, a month forward, and then lay out all the things that happened. These are just the factual moments that happened over the last month. Next thing you lay out is, what did it feel like to go through those moments? What were our emotions? What was the human side of this? Then you think about, what did we learn based on those events over the last month? And then what does that imply about how we should move forward in the following month? So this is a very structured way to make sure you learn from the past before you plan out the future. Then we think about, what are the goals that we want to achieve in the next month? We lay those out again on the timeline. And then what actions do we have to do to support those goals? We lay those out. Then you star 3 of them, 1 to 3. These are the ones you have to get right. All the other ones can fall down, but those you have to get right. And then we transcribe them into the worksheet. So it's important to think about what you said you were going to do over the previous quarter or previous month. Then you take those moments and summarize them. You take the emotions and the learnings and summarize them. And then you take the implications and summarize them. The goals and actions then come in as objectives and key results. We didn't really talk about the key results, so what's the quantitative measures that will let you know you're on the right track with your objectives? Then be honest about still the uncertainties, the unknowns, the risks, and dependencies that are part of this strategy. And now you have a 1-page sheet that helps you dictate the things that really focus on the matter for the next month. Super powerful. So here's an example of one of the companies that went through the Boulder program doing this brainstorming and then reducing it down into the impact and uncertainty to know how to take focused action on reducing the risk of their business. Here's one of the strategy sessions where we laid out the previous month and then planned out the following month of activity for the company.
We do this in large businesses as well. So all of that work that Zach was just talking about, we're not going to do it with 550 people, but we've got to get through those things and figure out what decisions we need to make in large groups, what decisions we need to put to the experts, what decisions we need to act on in departments right now. And when we do our corporate planning meetings, one of the tools that we've leveraged in order to figure out what those right conversations are that we need to have in the large group is open space. And I don't know if anybody is familiar with open space technology, but it's a way to set up a meeting where it's agendaless and the attendees decide what the agenda is. And so we reserve part of our corporate planning meeting, which is a day-long event, to let everybody in that meeting, which is about 100 people, it includes about 15 customers on average, to decide what do we need to talk about. What do we need all of these super smart expert people from across the business to have conversations about to guide us in making the right decisions going forward. And this is one of those conversations. This is a group of people from all across different parts of the business. We've got people from professional services and sales and accounting, and we've got customers in this group, and they're having a conversation about something that really matters for our next quarter's worth of strategy and execution in the business, trying to drive to what are the actions we need to take, who needs to take them, when, what are the priorities, and what are the dependencies and risks that we need to be paying attention to at a business level. Sometimes these meetings help us see tough choices that need to be made. This is actually from our marketing team. They've been adopting Agile for the last couple quarters, and one of the things that became very clear when we were doing quarterly planning work with them is they had too much work. And so at a departmental level, it was this really tough conversation about that is not all going to happen. And with the leadership of that department there, we had this conversation about what has to get cut or contracted out. This isn't all actually going to happen. But that's so powerful for the business to know now rather than later. And there was a lot of discussion about, you know, what are those emergency items? What are those things we can wait on? All of that conversation happened in this space. One of the other ways that we make sure that these pieces of information flow through the business is through cadence. When you get to scale, it's harder to have information flow. Right? We're not all sitting in the same room. We're not all even sitting in the same country. Right? So we establish and maintain a very clear cadence within the business that allows us to know, hey, if we do corporate planning at the company level, how is that information going to feed into the departments? And by the way, what are the departments doing before we have corporate planning to feed information up into this? How often are teams meeting? What about the management team? Where are we checking in with company metrics? How often are we communicating out to the whole company through an all hands or something like that? And we pay attention to this because if the cadence gets out of sync, we're missing a feedback loop somewhere. That information will not flow successfully. So we put together this and then we solidify it a little more and pay attention very closely to, is this still serving us as the company continues to scale, to make sure that information flow is working. And finally, this is actually a picture of our engineering organization doing a big planning meeting. And here, where we're talking departmental, we are still seeking that commitment vote, that consensus work across the department. And I'll talk in a minute when we get to the final section about how this type of commitment to the execution work against the strategy, how we actually shifted that as we talked about deciding on the strategy away from commitment, because we learned that while you can commit to execution work against the strategy, asking people to commit to a strategy is not quite the same thing. Finally, this is something from our previous fiscal year, actually 2 years ago. And I just wanted to point this out as one of many, many ways that we communicate inside of our organization what the strategy is and why we're doing what we're doing. So we call this the placemat. And we would produce one of these and give it to everybody in the company as a way to just one more mechanism to say, hey, you know, we've talked about this in company meetings, we have a web page in the company about it, we talk about it in our departments. Here's one more way to say, right, who are we? What are our core values? What are we working on this year? We call this our true north. Right? Where are we going? How are we measuring ourselves? What are our strategies? And then asking people to connect themselves directly to those strategies. What does that mean for you? How will you be a participant in that? Because if I'm in accounting, that's going to look a lot different than if I'm in sales. Right? And helping people sort of identify themselves against strategy at scale can really help people feel like, oh, I'm not just another cog in the machine.
I wanted to come back. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I would say that, and I will tell you that's a way to do it, and it's still not, it can't be the only option, right?
Yeah, I just need my cable
Oh, gotcha.
There we go. So that's that third ingredient of how to figure out what action you should take, what has the biggest impact on your business, how to take action on it, and then focusing that in on a short-term strategy that incorporates money. Last one is, how do you do more of the right work faster? So how do we make sure that now that we know where we should be aiming our energy, we do that as effectively and as fast as possible?
So think about, when we're talking about how we manage our work, how we make work visible, think about a time maybe when you're working with your team or your organization and you have 20 priorities, and no matter how hard you work, none of them are getting done. Right? So we're never making any progress. I feel like I've had this status meeting for the last 5 weeks or 5 months or however long it's been. Or it feels like everybody is working super hard. Like if you talk to anyone, it seems like we're working so hard. But if you take a step back, everybody's miserable and we don't feel like we've achieved anything. Or maybe where it feels like we have ideas about experiments, we're like, yes, we should experiment on that, give an answer, this experiment, but it's like, I don't actually feel like we're learning anything. Like, sure, a lot of experiments happening here, and I'm just as dumb as I was last week, so where's the information? So in those situations, what do you guys think is going on? What's happening inside of a team or a company that's driving that? If you've ever felt that. Yes?
Spending a lot of time firefighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Spending a lot of time firefighting. What else? A lack of focus. What else? What's going on?
Unrealistic volume of work in progress.
Yeah. Your volume of work in progress is unrealistic.
Okay. So let's talk about one of the work management systems that we built with the teams went through the TechStars program to help with this. We talk about focus here. So grab a whiteboard, and we have about 11 of these running around the office. In that strategy sheet, remember we talked about the top objectives. So these are now the weekly versions of those. So you write out, maybe it's the monthly, but then you've got some augmented with some weekly. Stripe out a board like this, remind yourself of your objectives. And this is the simplest form of this that can work. I've seen way fancier, and you can in retrospect make this fancier. But if you stripe out a column that says next week, this week, today, doing the pen and done. I'll explain what the pen is here in a minute. And then you lay out the work items that you think are ahead of you for this week and next week. It's good to kind of plan out 2 weeks worth of stuff. And these stickies here help you filter to make sure that are you working on the right things that matter. So there may be some urgent things in here, but this focus is to help you be able to see the work and make sure that the important takes priority over the urgent. And by seeing it, you can actually see it. These boards are great because there's a physical limit. There's like literally a physical limit to how many stickies you can put up here. And the important thing about making sure you work effectively is to limit how much work you're doing at any one time. So don't jam too much work into the system. But as we think about kind of a day in the life of this board as we get started is we take off the handful of things that we think we can get done today. Not start today, but get done today. And we put those into the today column. And then as we work on them, readjust this week. And then as we work on them, we move them into doing, so we know who's doing what. And we limit how much we're doing at any one time. And we're reminded of what we thought we were going to get done today. And as we show up the next day, and let's say all of this is in doing, and that today still stays the same, we have immediate feedback. Wow, we bit off 4 too many things yesterday. So it's immediate feedback about how much work we can get done. And why was it that we started everything? So like we're great at starting, but we didn't actually finish anything. I know I've done enough home remodel projects to know that I'm great at starting things. It's the finishing part that's tricky. So the pin is where you put sticky notes that you can't take any more action on them and you're dependent on someone else. So you put them there, and it's kind of a reminder, hey, I pinned so-and-so, or I'm dependent on so-and-so, and often you write their name on there. And then as you think about these boards, the powerful thing is to actually think about right to left. So think about what's done. So in a typical stand-up, you describe, okay, here's everything that got done yesterday. Here's all the stuff that I'm waiting on today. And then the question is, all of your energy should be placed on getting the stuff out of the pin. Because it's potentially the closest to value, because value is only achieved by things hitting over here. Then we think about what are the things that we're doing. We put all of our energy into getting those done. Then we think about, okay, I'm done, I don't have anything in process. So what am I going to do today? We move things over into there, and then we adjust this week and next week. So you see kind of another cycle of that all flowing through. And then if you get done with this week, you can pull from next week in. But the powerful thing is to actually get yourself in a spot where you're actually pulling some work ahead from the previous week. Give yourself some volume. So these are very simple, very powerful work management systems that have a huge impact on the effectiveness of your team.
Is it personal or a team sheet?
The beauty of this is this works at an individual level, this works at a team level, and this works at a whole organization level. We'll describe. Sorry?
Definition of the pen.
The pen
You're
is
gonna see a lot of people.
things you're not done with, you can't take any more action on.
Right.
So you're dependent on other things, you're blocked. Okay, so here's the example of the wall that actually the Techstars team used. So all of the Maddie and I, as well as all the staff, that was all of our work kind of in a moment in time. So you see our top priorities here. And then next week, this week, and remaining things. We had a few kind of things hanging out over here, which were reminders for other things. But this was a 9-person team, so 8 people. This was one of the companies that was in the Muller program. This was their board that managed all of their work while they were in the program.
And this is a picture of our company initiative Kanban from Rally. So this is where we track and make visible, so we make it, put it up on a board like this once in a quarter when we're doing our streaming, otherwise it is electronically. But this is where we can see what we call company initiatives, which are cross-departmental large chunks of work that we know will impact the business significantly, that we need to get done well, we don't expect that they'll necessarily finish in a quarter, but we check on them each quarter and see, are we making progress? Are they moving our strategies forward? And so we want to create visibility to them. And this is our the head of our Agile business unit, Angela, with the head of marketing, looking at this during the meeting and saying, like, okay, how much more, if any, work can the company pull in? Knowing that this will impact how much each department can do. So even at a very high level, we're paying attention to the business. And these ones with the paint on them, these were new ones that surfaced during the meeting from all of the other people in the business saying, here's some things we think we need to work on going into this next quarter. This was another exercise in reminding us about some of our core values. All companies, every single company I've ever worked at or consulted to has a problem with too much work in process. Do you guys feel the same way? Do you guys have a problem with too much work in process? I think it's a human problem. We like to start stuff. So we've been hearing a lot of complaints about the amount of work in the company, and so we said, well, let's look at it. And so we had every department bring in all the stuff of any significance. Like we were like, if it's big enough to put it on a sticky for your department, bring it in. And this is what we got. And we asked them to put it from keep the lights on, and then from very important to maybe we can stop. And you can see how everybody feels about their work, right? Oh, it's all the most important stuff. We can never stop doing any of that stuff, right? But it's just another way to kind of help the organization remember, like, this is what's happening. This is why stuff's not getting done. We're working on too many things. We have to find a way to stop doing some of our work. But you can't know that if you can't look at it. Right? You have to be able to visualize this. And then we got to figure out what to do about it, and that's not just a single person decision. This is a group of leaders from our product and engineering organization. That's actually our former CEO, Tim. That's one of our customers. They're all together sitting there saying, like, all right, so if this is where we're going this quarter to continue executing against our strategy, what does this mean for the product and engineering organization? How does that impact us? And then this, you'll see here, this is our executive team, and during this same meeting, the rest of the leadership team has surfaced a bunch of risks, and they're doing what's called roaming the risks, which is an acronym for resolved, owned, accepted, and mitigated. And they're going through the risks and in service to the rest of the organization and saying, okay, which of these do we think are resolved? You'll notice none. Which ones are we going to own? And they put their names on it. I will own this risk. I will do something about it or track it. Which ones do we just accept, like that's just part of being in our business or being in our market? And then which ones do we already believe we've mitigated through some other action? And then finally, I mentioned this before, at the corporate level, we moved away from commitment to the strategy and instead to what we call caution and commit, which is something we learned from a good book by a guy named Patrick Lencioni called The Advantage, which I would highly recommend. It's wonderful. But what he talks about is that for leadership teams, there comes a point when the strategy is the strategy, and we've talked about it enough, and we're moving forward. And at that moment, the last thing that we do is we ask all the leaders to say, what are your final cautions to the executive team before you commit fully to deploying this strategy into the organization? So it's sort of a last chance after we've had lots of discussion to say, please pay attention to this. We're worried about X. So that's how we make that work.
Okay, so that was the final ingredient there of making sure you set up these work systems all the way from the team level to the whole organization level to make sure you're getting more of the right work done faster. So that's the whole framework. The other key thing about this is the constant integration of learning. The whole point of this is that these are sample times. Rachel talked about the cadence. Making sure that you're able to integrate learning daily at the stand-up, monthly or weekly at the strategy level, monthly at the business level, and then often quarterly at the core value and kind of core purpose level. But these arrows back here are critical. All of these build and rely on each other and allow you to integrate learning. And a powerful way to do that, so this is the retrospective. This was every company that went through the Boulder program. The last day of program, we did a retrospective on how the program go. So this is our final way to integrate learning into that.
Well, people in this room on this picture, they didn't know I was going to show this, so sorry. But this is, for us, one of the ways that we've been incorporating learning is that we've been going through this acquisition, and as you can imagine, it's been hard for us as we go through this transition. And so part of learning is not just learning about your execution, but learning about where your humans are inside your company. And so this was an activity done with our professional services group where we did what we called a wake and a wedding. And we did a wake to sort of say, like, what are we having to say goodbye to from the company that we used to be, and then a wedding where we had champagne and made toasts to what are we excited about the company that we're going to become. And that kind of transition work is part of learning. It's part of helping people move from where they are today to where they're going to be tomorrow. And whether you're a startup or you're a large company, that's happening to you all the time. And so how are we learning as people about where we're at with that information and how we're going to be successful moving forward?
Okay, so that was us applying more than the thin sliver that got applied in the lean startup and the overall lean knowledge into making teams and companies much more effective, going from where they're at today to accelerating past their competition and really building the business that they want to build. There's a balance to this. So we've given you those 4 ingredients and a sense of how to balance them. Again, I put the slides up online, so if you go to @Zacchaeus on Twitter, you can download the slides or any of those worksheets to help you get started in forming this balance and getting to the point where you can accelerate past where you're at today. Thank you very much. This is the first time we've done this presentation, so we have exactly 1 minute for questions.
Yeah, who's got a really important, high priority question? With limit of 1. Yes.
How long does it take to get going? How long does it take to get, even with the framework in place and Techstars and doing practitioners like yourself?
Yep.
For how long does it take to get that whole framework going?
So everybody was off and running with it in about 3 days. I did 2 lectures, and we're sort of recapping.
That's sticky notes all over the walls in 3 days.
Yeah. Yep. And then they really hit the rhythm within about a week or 2. It takes a few cycles, so within 2 to 3 weeks, you're really getting a good rhythm.
Those are 3 days a
Yeah, it could be. It depends on what you're servicing. So if the team's really aligned, it actually goes pretty smoothly. We had one team that was almost in constant bickering the whole time. Because for the first time ever in their company, they actually had the surface to articulate what they meant, rather than just be like, oh, I'm going to go off and do something else.
Well, and one thing we didn't mention, but at scale, when we do this kind of work with our customers, one of the key ingredients that I love to employ to help speed this up is empathy interviews. If any of you are familiar with design thinking practices, I have never done an empathy interview and regretted it. It always provides information. If you sit down with somebody and ask them questions about what their experience has been, what they're hoping for, it can tell you a lot about where they're at right now and help you know how to employ, which strategies to employ first, which techniques to employ first to get them to that next step. We'll stick around probably for a few.
Yeah, as long as we're not in the way of the next crew, we're happy to take questions. Thank you very much.